so this is like what happens, right? Like we grow up, we find weird shit.
Yeah.
Start meeting other people like weird shit.
100%.
And then there's like this threshold that gets cut off, right? Where there's so many of the people that I know, pretty much everybody that I know from high school, none of those motherfuckers are into the weird shit anymore. And it like, but like something with us, it's stuck.
Yeah.
And we continue to find more and more people that are into the weird shit.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. It's just, I don't know. I found that once I became an adult and then I finally, after like in like my mid to late 20s, got a career where I could like actually do the fun shit I've always wanted to do. I was just like, why turn into a boring ass adult at this point in time? Like I can finally do the fun shit I want to do. And I haven't looked back. Yeah.
I think it's pretty much the same thing. It was like really weird. I almost didn't even realize that like at the time that when I like graduated high school, that was really kind of synonymous with me getting into the music scene.
100%. Yeah.
And like, I'm just caught up with like trying to meet new people and meet promoters and all of this dumb shit where it was like, you know, I start playing shows and then I realize that like nobody that's like none of my homies are ever coming out. And it's like, oh, everybody changed.
Yeah.
And then like, you know, 2 years later, it's like, oh, wow, if it wasn't for the music scene, like in Pittsburgh, like I would have no friends. I would have nothing.
Yeah. 100%.
It's fucking crazy.
Most of my buddies are either dudes or anybody I've played shows with over the decade plus now, or just people I've known from shows being in Pittsburgh now for almost 20 years. I think, 20 years it'll be in July of this year. Because I was from Ohio, like middle of nowhere, Northwest Ohio. Like the closest big city would have been Toledo, but even then that was an hour away.
Yeah,
so
totally.
It was just like in high school, found metal through buddies, like my one buddy who now runs like a small like heavy metal label, Lucas. He like one day in art class, dude, he just like came up and he's like, you gotta listen to this. And it was Stradivarius. If you know
fuck
that.
yeah, I do.
Just killer speed metal band. And they were like, it was like their song, I think At the Speed of Light. I was just like, what the fuck is this? This is insane. Because, you know, like, because I'm 38. I was born in 86. And I think we're like right about the same age.
Yeah,
like,
I was born in 85.
Yeah, so I graduated high school in 2004. So for people our age, it was like, I remember like middle school, it was like, had the little boom box and took it to the baseball field with friends and was listening to like Limp Bizkit CDs.
Totally.
Just like fucking, I don't know why we'd be in the baseball field, but just like fucking around with Limp Bizkit playing. And then, it was like, I remember like getting for Christmas and like 14 years old. I think I was like, I want like, it was the latest Ozzy CD, which was like early 2000s Ozzy, which was...
Oh, Lord. Yeah. Who knows?
But like System of a Down's Toxicity. I got like Alien Ant Farms Anthology, I think was that album.
Yeah.
And so it was just like the System of a Down especially like drew me in. And then my buddy who was already into metal was like, you're already listening to this stuff. Like here's Stradivarius. And then they like showed me Children of Bodom and In Flames and like Himsa and Shadows Fall and like Slayer and shit. So it was just like immediately just like getting engrossed in that. But like I couldn't go to shows because there were no shows. Like Toledo would sometimes have stuff, but like the Toledo scene now is insane. Like there's bands like Mutilatred and Hanging Fortress and so much cool stuff. But back then there was like maybe a couple bands. Like there was a band called like Forever Lost and like Terminator, and they were cool, but like one friend had a car, so we could never get to shows. So like when I moved to Pittsburgh for college in 2004, I was just like, oh, I'm in a city where shows happen. And that just that opened the floodgates for me.
Yeah.
That was so sick. So
yeah, it's so funny. I feel like the thing that I really like about going to shows in Pittsburgh is that I feel like there's like a 9 out of 10 chance that you're going to be there.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing, dude. Like, I thought like
you're just like always out, and it doesn't even matter. Like, it doesn't even have to be like any particular niche of metal. You know what I mean? It's just like you're around.
Yeah. Honestly, at this point, I'd rather see what the scene's doing. Like, I would rather see my friends playing a show than go, like, I don't even like going to Stage AE shows. Like,
Sure.
I think that's too big for me. Mr. Smalls and like that sort of size, I feel like that's big enough. But even then, anymore, I just do the DIY spots. I like to go to the Preserving DIY basement shows, like the Dungeon Room, like the small space. I've played there a few times. I like to do Shred Shed because, you know, Dingo and Brooks, they run that with Metal Mary, and I've known those people forever, and they do a cool job. Like, it's just, I don't know. I'm so much more interested in what Pittsburgh, like metal and hardcore and just Pittsburgh bands in general are doing, as opposed to like a big touring band. Because at this point, any big touring band, I've seen them. Like, I've already seen them in 20 years. So it's just, I'd rather go to smaller shows at this point, and it hasn't slowed down at all.
I'm also noticing a thing with touring bands now where the level of production has gotten so sterilized that I don't even feel like I'm at a live show anymore. I feel like I'm at some weird sort of like, I don't know what it is. It's a performance.
Yeah.
But it just feels like everything's way too clean and perfect.
Yeah.
It all looks the same. It all sounds the same.
Yeah.
And it's the energy is like lost.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and that's the thing for me. The bigger a show gets, the more you lose that energy.
Yeah.
Like, I would much rather go to a Pittsburgh hardcore show in that tiny ass DIY room where there's 50 kids there fucking filled to the brim, and just, I don't mosh anymore because I'm too old. But like, to just see like that new wave of kids just like going off for like, especially in the Pittsburgh hardcore scene, what I've seen is like kids are going off more for the local bands than they are the touring bands. Like a huge example is when that Tsunami band came through and No Reason to Live played. No Reason to Live's fucking set was way more dangerous than Tsunami's set.
Sure.
And like I saw the dudes in Tsunami just like watching their set and being like, where the fuck did this band come from? And it's just like, I feel like that's kind of like a bit of a Pittsburgh curse where it's like, there's so much good bands, but none of us really get a big opportunity to do touring outside of weekenders and, you know, 1 week kind of regional runs and that kind of stuff. You know, there are those few bands that have been able to break through that and can do national and Euro tours and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, for the most part, the city's just filled with hidden gems.
Yeah, I feel like an issue with a lot of the bands in Pittsburgh and people in Pittsburgh in general is it like, you know, this is like a working class city. We're logistical. We think too much about things. We're not delusional enough to start a touring band. There's like a certain level of like craziness that you need to just like have to be able to go out there and just do it.
Right.
And I think everybody here's to like, and to some degree, just not delusional enough.
Right. Which is a shame because like Pittsburgh is still one of the cheapest places to live. So it's like, you'd think if you were to be a touring band, you'd want to live in a city that's way cheaper. So but yeah, it's just, that's always been a bummer, but it's always just been like a special little thing too. Cause it's just like, not everybody gets to see the bands that we get to see.
Yeah. And I think that that's probably the case too for a lot of other cities.
Yeah.
I think that's just in general. There's just so many more bands now than there was even when like I was graduating high school at the same time. Like you had mentioned, like in your area, there wasn't a lot going on. Honestly, like when I was in high school here in Pittsburgh, there was stuff happening, but it wasn't anywhere near the scale of what it is now.
No.
You know, like when I was in high school, there was one band in my high school at the time. One band.
Yeah.
And then like 10 years later, I'm playing shows with like all of these young kids, and it's all like, yeah, we go to Woodland Hills. We're from Woodland Hills. We're from Woodland Hills. It's like, Jesus Christ, it's like 24 bands in this school now. There was one. And it was a pop punk band, and I wasn't even like a pop punk kid, but you know, they were the homies. But it's just like it was just so different.
That was the exact same. I had so many buddies in high school who were in pop punk bands, so I just went to pop punk band shows because those were the only shows available to me. There was no like. I remember there was one time in high school, like my one friend, she had booked in this like, I guess it was a community center for our little ass town. And we had gotten some Christian straight edge band from Erie. And so like, that's when I found out about straight edge. I was like, oh, that's cool. And then it was just like, I can't remember for the life of me what that band was called.
Yeah.
Like that was like, it's like, oh, that's a hardcore show. That's cool. And then like, yeah, it's just moving here just like opened up so many doors to like just so many different genres and just different shows and different areas. Just being able to go to like 8 different spots in a single city to catch a show is just mind-boggling to me, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, I think that we've definitely lost a lot, but we've also like gained a lot at the same time. I feel like a lot of people kind of poo-poo on the scene here, like, oh, lack of opportunity and blah, blah. Maybe if you're trying to do some things, possibly. But I think if like you're down to like meet people, down to play shows with different people, and you don't need to be like a fucking diva or the world to play a show, there's plenty of like great opportunities for you. And that's coming from somebody that has been in a position where like, I feel like sometimes it's hard for like bands that I play in to play smaller shows. You know, I used to like have this mentality of like Greywalker, where it's like, we're a metal band and we need like a big stage and big speakers. It needs to be loud for it to make sense. But also we could play the Green Beacon and it's fine.
Yeah. I love it.
I just need to like get over that sometimes where it's like, I want to be like a big rock band.
Yeah.
But like, it's easy to be, that's me being a little delusional, I suppose.
Yeah. I don't, bigger shows always freak me out. I think there was, when I did like live vocals for Slaves BC, that was the biggest, now Ooze Cost, that was the biggest show I ever did. We opened for Zao at Mr. Smalls.
Oh, cool.
And that was the worst show experience I've ever had. There was no audio coming from the monitors. Like,
really?
We had done all that sound check stuff, and there was absolutely nothing. Once our set started, nothing coming through the monitors for the first couple songs. We're like looking at the sound guy from the side, like, hey, come on, like we can't hear shit. Because that was completely foreign to me. Because like you don't hear anything from the amps on the stage at Mr. Smalls. I had no idea because I had just played just Roboto and fucking basement shows and shit. So I had no idea how like an actual real stage worked.
It's crazy how isolating it is.
And then it's just like, what? Why do I hear nothing? This is freaking me out. And then so it was like, we just fucked up like the first couple songs, and then they finally got the songs through, and it's just like, it was like the one time to like open up for a band I've been listening to since fucking high school. And it just like completely flub it because it's just like, I had no idea how a big real stage fucking worked.
Oh, dude, the first time Greywalker played with Darkest Hour, it was probably like our worst set ever.
Yeah.
It was fucking cursed, man. So it was downstairs at Cativo, which not one of my favorite rooms to play personally.
It gets damp.
Well, that was the issue. Was it like the stage was like wet,
dude?
So it was so slippery, like that you couldn't hear anything. We're playing sloppy. It was just a nightmare. And it was like, again, with like, we basically are like, you know, we're like the Pittsburgh ripoff of Darkest Hour. You know what I mean? It's like oh my god, you know. But like we've played with them a couple of times since then, and luckily have redeemed ourselves. But like, but like that first one, man, it's like, damn, dude, like. That sucks. Yeah. It really, really sucks.
That's an absolute bummer.
Yeah.
So anymore, I just prefer small spaces. Like, I don't think we have some shows lined up for my new band, but I just want to play smaller spaces.
I'm excited to check out the new project.
Yeah. Aconitum. That's so for people that don't know, I'm Adam Bailey.
Hi, yes.
I've been in Pittsburgh for like 20 years now. I started going to shows in like 2005 here, and then just really starting to like follow local bands and just really absorbing all the scenes. Because for me, like, I love metal, I love hardcore, I've done a couple grindcore bands, and so for me, it's just a heavy show's a heavy show. And I know the vibes of each show. You know what I mean? It's like, I know what to expect at a hardcore show. I know what to expect at a metal show. There's no such thing as a Pittsburgh grind show. Let's be honest. There's like 3 of us here in this whole city. So, But because of that, because I'm in a grind band, I get to play shows with metal bands. I get to play shows with hardcore bands. It's awesome. You know what I mean? Because it's very rare that a grind tour comes through here. So whenever we're playing a show, it's mostly with metal and hardcore bands, which I love. So, but yeah, Aconitum kind of just came out of my other grind band, Narakah, just kind of being on an indefinite hiatus for now. So I just was getting bored, and I hit up my buddy Chris Leeper, who drums in another Pittsburgh grind band, one of like four, Sarlacc, with our buddy Phil, who runs the Green Beacon Star Wars grind. And he was I knew through the grapevine that he was kind of looking for a project. And so I was just like, hey, do you want to do grind? Because I'm not done doing grind. This is my format. This is what I like. I like minute and a half long songs. I like writing just a single paragraph of lyrics because I hate writing lyrics.
Sure.
I that's like something I get super self-conscious of is lyrics. So it's like grindcore, I feel like, is a good place for me. So yeah, we just hit each other up one day and we went in his basement, and he had already had some stuff he'd been noodling with, and we recorded a demo track with like some programmed drums, and we got, we posted that song up, and we're just like, hey, any drummers in the Pittsburgh area want to play this kind of stuff? And our buddy Dylan, who's, if you may know him from, he drums in like a stoner doom band, Galactic Jihad. And he's done like video stuff for like Vibe Vote, if you know them. He's a younger dude, and he was like, yeah, sure. Like, I want to push myself. I want to do some different kind of drumming, stoner drumming and grind drumming are completely
that's yin and yang right there.
But
definitely
he came in and nailed it, and it was just like cool. So we wrote some songs last year and started playing our first shows towards the end of the year, and we've got some stuff lined up for this year too. So it's just been super fun to just like to keep doing grind, because like when Narakah just had to kind of go on a little bit of a hiatus, I was just like, I need to keep doing this stuff. This is like, I spent like a year not playing a show, and that's just like, that's a death sentence for me.
Sure.
It's like my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah, definitely. I imagine also being someone that goes out to so many shows, you know what I mean? Just being like, damn, I want to be doing this.
Yeah.
It's really hard for me to like ever go to a show and like not be like, fuck, I want to be working on something. I need to play a show,
dude. Especially when you see like one of the young bands coming through, and you're like, God damn it. Like, this is sick. Well, I need to be doing this. like it's been really cool to be like, hey, I'm not playing shows with the same dudes I've known for a decade plus now. Like,
totally,
there's young blood ever since like the pandemic kind of opened back up, man. This Pittsburgh scene has just blown up exponentially, and it's been awesome to see.
Yeah. There's a lot of bands. It's been really cool trying to keep track of it. I like being able to go to local shows and always like see like a band I've never seen before.
Yeah.
That's like not uncommon for there to always be one band. I'm like, who the fuck are these guys?
Yeah. Or it's like you've checked out like a new band's EP on Bandcamp, and you're like, I need to see them at a show. This is gnarly. And then you're just like looking at their socials and like, oh, sick. They finally have something coming up. I'm going to like just make it out to that because I've just been wanting to see them. So yeah, I do a lot of shows every month. It's a lot. So, I mean, and that's the thing too. It's like, it's such a simple thing when some younger kids or something come up and they're just like, how do you get your band on shows? It's like, show up. Like, that's rule number one. If you want your Pittsburgh band to play shows, show up. That's still the number one rule. That hasn't changed in well over a decade. You have to be a part of your scene. You have to show up. You have to talk. It's tough. Totally. As somebody who is like, I'm super comfortable around my friends and I can joke and I can shoot the shit. But like when I'm in an area with like strangers and I don't have a mic on me, like it's tough to just walk up. It's like, you have 1,000 Facebook friends because people in the local scene just friend you. But like, have you gone up to them at a show and talked to them? It's like, you have to do that. You can't just build that relationship online. It's like you have to go to the shows. Like if you want to be booked for a show, like a promoter, a band who also books shows, like you have to just go and talk to them and be friendly. And it's like, at the end of the day, it doesn't even matter if your music is that good.
Oh, it definitely doesn't.
As long as you're a solid person and like people enjoy your presence and they see you showing up, that's like, you're going to play. You're gonna play shows.
I've said this like 1,000 times. Like I'm way past the point in my life where I feel like I need to play with bands that are like a similar genre or bands that are 100%. Really fucking good. It's like, I don't care how bad your band is. If you're cool as fuck, I'll play a show with you. I do not care.
Anymore.
Because the other thing too is like, the thing is like, I feel like it's really important for people that are cool to be like welcomed in the scene so we can have more cool people and push out. If there's anybody that's not cool, get them the fuck out of here. And it's like, okay, this band isn't good yet. Maybe they'll get good.
And that's the
maybe
thing too.
Maybe they won't. Who cares? If they're a good hang, they're a good hang.
It's a pretty small chance that your first show you're coming out the gates swinging. You know what I mean? It takes like,
what even is good anyways?
And that's there's levels of good.
You know, especially when we're talking about like these niche subgenres of heavy metal music.
Yeah. It's like, it doesn't matter. Like, I could fuck up a grind set a few times during the set and people still be like, good show. Because it's just like, it's a minute long song.
Oh,
Nobody
sure.
knows if like Dylan misses a single blast or a fill, or if Chris messes up some riff or something. It's as long as you recover and you look at the audience and nobody's like, oh, what is this?
Yeah, totally.
But also for me, it's just like, I feel like if somebody's paying to see any bands, I like to put on a show. I don't know if it's good or not, but I like to be
totally. And
you know too, because you're also super animated during a live set. You know what I mean? It's just like, I just feel like if somebody's paying $10 to see me, it's like, and my set's 10 minutes long, it's like, that's kind of also why I'm doing grind now. Because as I get older and I'm still over 200 pounds, I feel like I can do a 10-minute set. I can't do a 20, 25-minute set.
Oh, man, dude, Greywalker just played like a 45-minute set in Ohio.
That.
Woo! And it's also like, it fucking killed me because like, one, the time is a huge issue, but two, is it West Side Bowl? I don't know if you've been there yet.
I haven't been there, but I know I've talked to enough people about that spot to know like because it's at a bowling alley.
It's a cool spot, but the stage is huge.
Yeah.
So when there's space, whether I know it's not a good idea for me to move around, but I start moving way more than I'm like physically.
That's why I like playing the DIY room and preserving, because you can only go like 10 feet in any direction. So.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, I like to give it my all and really have fun with it. And it's just like, I'll have my body hurt for the next couple of days just to put on a fun show. Cause like, I don't know, I think you connect more with an audience when you have a stage presence.
Yeah, show, I think, you know, people are coming out to see, you know, for lack of a better term, a rock and roll show. Mm-hmm. You know, they want the spectacle of it. You know, like nobody wants to see like a boring metal show. That was like the one thing that was so funny. I remember in that like 2004, 5, 6, that time, right? You started getting all of like the BT BAMs and like the progressive metal movement. And like as an active listener of music, I found that stuff very interesting. Yeah. And then I saw these bands live and I was like, I don't know how much I care. Right. Yeah. Because it is a very like static thing. Right. Yeah. And I started finding myself being bored because it's like, it's like the composition is interesting and it's really good. And I'm not going to say they're a bad band or any of this type of, but it's like, I find so much more, I get so much more out of just like the energy and the active output and it just being so less like meticulous. I don't really like the, I don't know. I don't like when things are like so like polished and perfect that when it's in a live environment, it's like, it's like I'll sit at work and I'll watch that stuff. But it's like it's also like there's no excuse because I've seen plenty of other bands that are just as technical that also go fucking nuts live. Yeah. So it's like maybe it has nothing to do with the music. It's just the fact that it's just like they're boring performers. Yeah, I mean, but that definitely adds to it though, where it's like when you have a pedal board. Oh, sure. You know, that's multiple feet wide. Yeah. And you have all that stuff. It does make it harder for you to perform. And I think that's why, especially lately, I've been like
because I like that energy, I've been doing more hardcore shows and like more DIY metal shows, because it's just like, that's where the energy is. That's where I want to be. Like, I don't care about seeing you play note for note perfect. I want to see the essence of those songs in a fun visual way. Like, you know what I mean? It's more important to have like a good stage presence than it is to just be like, oh, he missed that note. It's like, who cares? Like,
yeah. Do you remember like when we used to live in a time when like bands would release live albums?
Oh yeah.
You know, it's like there used to be the goal for like a rock band, I felt, was always like the idea of the studio is to try to capture the live experience as much as possible. Yeah. To the point that some bands would release live albums. Yeah. And now somehow in modern metal, it's flipped where it's like in the live environment, we're trying to replicate the studio experience as much as possible. Yeah. And it just sounds so fucking sterile. Yeah. It bums me out. It really does. I remember seeing back downstairs at Cativo again. I mean, whatever, you know, it's a venue. I'm glad they're open and letting people play there, so I don't want to talk too much shit. It's just not for me. But I saw Flesh God Apocalypse there. Oh yeah, that's a band that's going to just sound like the studio for 100%. And like, yeah, and like, you know, I understand it's like you're a European band, you're touring in the States, but there's like no guitar cabs on stage. No, so everything's all digital. It's all that weird little console thing in the middle that all the like there's no cables, there's nothing it's on just, the guitars, it's just going the only way that it sounded good was if you were standing in the back of the room. If you're standing up front, you're an up front guy. I see you up front. You're always up front. Just, you know, I'm just like but all you can hear is fucking drums. That's it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't mind watching. I'll go to the Flesh God Apocalypse drum clinic any day. Boy rips 100%. But like, I want to see the whole thing. Yeah, you know, and especially when a band like that and they have all that orchestral stuff, and it's just like that's just a backing track. Like, there's no band. One thing that if you want to go do back in the day is like back in the day, deathcore bands and all that stuff who had those symphonic elements, they at least had a keyboardist on stage. Oh yeah, nobody has a keyboardist anymore. I feel so bad. Like the keyboard, the touring metal keyboardist has been hit the hardest by the recession. Yes, like they are for sure. Bands have to cut corners, and it's just like, you know what? The laptop just does what you do, Kyle. Like, see you later. Like you're not our keyboardist anymore. It's like that's a bummer because I always added like I don't really do the symphonic stuff that much anymore, but it was just like seeing that backing track, every band just having a backing track. And I'm just like, man, there's just like that little bit extra magic in your live show that's gone now because you don't have a keyboardist. I mean, a lot of the time too, like if I'm not seeing something, my brain isn't thinking to listen for it in the mix. So if I don't see a keyboard player on stage, there's a good chance that I'm not even going to be paying attention to those backtracks unless it's like the interlude in between songs. Right. Like if I'm just seeing guitar, bass, drums, vocals, that's all my brain can focus on because I'm trying to see what everybody's doing. Yeah. You know what I mean? This is coming from somebody that plays in a band with synthesized backtracks. So I guess I need to get a keyboard player for Creatures. Yeah, I would. I mean, honestly, not to get too sidetracked, but I would love to get I would love for Normal Creatures to be like a 10-piece fucking band. It would be so sick. I mean, you've done that on occasion. You've had pretty big lineups for those shows at points. Like, you know, it's those little one-offs you've done before where you just got a bunch of people and it's like, that's, you know, you can't do that all the time, but like a little special sauce every once in a while. We'll try our best. Throw that in there. Yeah. But yeah, it's hard. I think the only bands in metal now that still have like keyboard players would probably be like the more like progressive or like or some of the symphonic stuff like Nightwish and get fucking what's his name, Tim or whatever. He writes all that fucking stuff. So you know that boy's gonna be on stage front and center. He's got job security. Or like Jordan Rudess from Dream Theater. Yeah, he's always gonna be on stage. That is nice. But yeah, it's just the legacy bands that are still doing it because they're like, well, they've been so ingrained in our music forever. But well, I think that I mean also too, I think probably this is gonna be the hot take. I think that if you're keyboard parts that are in your songs are actually vital and worth a shit to the actual music, you probably have a keyboard player on stage.
Yeah, I will.
If it's just like the silly like textures or whatever to try to make yourselves like seem bigger.
Well,
like we need to play to the 300 score in the background or whatever the fuck it is. John Williams 100%. Shit. It's just like, okay.
Well, and on like a related note too, it's like with a band like what are they called? They just put out that album on Nuclear Blast. They're like that sort of like hardcore metalcore with that little bit of new metal. They have the DJ. Oh my God, this is stalling. Vane. Vane. So like I've seen Vane multiple times. And the best times seeing them live is when they have their live DJ.
Yeah, I've only seen them once, but the DJ wasn't there.
The DJ is a pretty rare occurrence for them, but like seeing them with their DJ and the layers and the extra shit like that he's adding to that live show is so much better than just having their vocalist. Because when they don't, the vocalist just kind of has like a little pad, whatever little digital pad thing to just kind of hit the cues for some of that stuff, because it's pretty pivotal to their sound, how they've moved that in there. And it's just like seeing that one person removed from the stage that handles all that and brings way more to their live set than they normally can with just, the vocalist pushing a button to cue up the next thing. It's just like, it just adds that extra, but again, it's extra cost. It just costs more to do that stuff.
Sure.
So, it's especially for touring bands don't make money.
Totally.
Even at that level, you know what I mean? Like, how much money can you possibly make doing that with vans breaking down, vans getting broken into, your stuff getting stolen at venues? Like, it's just like, if you have like a perfect run, you can make some money. But when does that happen? You know what I mean?
Sure.
When do you not come across some bullshit? So yeah, it's cost saving measures, I guess.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate to the crowd who doesn't get that extra little bit of pizzazz.
Yeah, I think that that's an element to all of this, is the economics of being in a band in modern times is definitely,
especially in the genre
silly.
That we enjoy. You know what I mean?
And it's funny because like it's getting you would think with the economics of this that everybody wouldn't be trying to do these setups where you have to play through fucking, $3,000 laptops and all this fancy digital gear. You think that everybody would be rolling back. I guess in some ways there are, because there has been like that whole resurgence of just like no bullshit death metal happening and stuff. I think there's definitely like a counterculture in modern metal now happening where people are resisting
because
the
everything
other shit.
Like, no offense to, those like symphonic deathcore bands that have been blowing up, but it's just like once like that Will Ramos kid came on the scene, with his insane vocals, but it's just like then every deathcore kid's just like, I gotta sound like a frog, or you know what I mean? I gotta do all this extra bullshit. And then like deathcore, like, because I'm an OG deathcore fan, I've been loving it since the early 2000s, but like it got so stale because it was all just about like the vocalists one-upping themselves on each song, and then the guitars, the riffs, everything just fell to the back line, and then they just upped the symphonic stuff. And so, you had that, like, especially like with a band like Psycho Frame, like their new deathcore, and they're just like early 2000s deathcore. They're like, no symphonic bullshit, like no clean singing. It's just like, we're just going back to how they did it back in the day, because it's just that it's that push to like that super clean, super crazy technical, the vocalist having to just kind of stand still because you got to concentrate on all that breathing technique bullshit. Like it's tough. Like
it does definitely like bringing up like a Lorna Shore type band.
Yeah.
Right. Where it's like, it's been interesting to see and really cool to see that they're like getting a lot of attention.
Yeah.
I don't know if like your Spotify monthly listeners translate to people that actually like your band or not.
Yeah.
But it definitely does reflect some level of attention that the band is getting, which I think is interesting. But like, for me, and maybe this is just like old man yelling at the clouds type shit. And like, I think that it's like, if I was 17, I would probably love that fucking band now.
100%.
But the issue for me is just like there's been stuff that I've been listening to that sounds exactly like this from the time that I was 17.
Right.
So for me, it's like so hard to be excited by new bands doing shit that I've been listening to my whole life.
Right.
But I don't think that's fair to those new bands.
No.
And I don't try to like be like, fuck them bands.
No.
It's
and
just
I would never say that about anything like Lorna Shore, because like everybody has a jumping off point. Like I said earlier, like I started with fucking Limp Bizkit and...
Oh, totally.
You know what I mean? It's like everybody has that starter band that hopefully, if they really do want to get involved in like the local metal or hardcore scene, it's like you got to start somewhere. And usually that's something that like, you know, is popping off on YouTube or, you know, on anything. And it's like you see those clips and you see that dude doing crazy vocals and you're like, that's insane. And then hopefully that like snowballs you to like, you go to a show and it's like, you'll check like an opener or something. And it's just like, that's like, you know, there's everybody's like shitting on Sleep Token and that kind of stuff. And I've never listened to that band, but it's just like, hey, if that's how somebody's getting into their scene, I'm never gonna, you know, make fun of you or anything like that, because, you know, especially like, like thinking about like, I never want to be that old man that's just like, these bands suck. It's like, nah, dude, it's just, it's what is happening right now. And it's all, you know,
it's just different, you know.
It's always
the thing that's
different.
interesting though, that I was just thinking about with like a Lorna Shore, I wonder how, this is me being kind of funny, but I wonder how annoying it is for everyone in that band that isn't the vocalist, because all anybody ever talks about is the vocals in that band.
Like, yeah, and that dude probably makes a mint because he's got like a YouTube channel, like he's got his revenue resources. He's a smart dude for doing that stuff. But yeah, it's just like, it's like being the basis for like Interpol or something. And it's like,
sure,
you know, it's like, I'm in one of the biggest bands in the world right now, but that's also kind of dope too, because then you're just like, if you don't want to have any of that sort of notoriety and more anonymity, that can also help as well. But
it's really interesting that like, it seems like really like his ability as a vocalist is what like pushed them up and gave them so much attention
forever. You know what I mean? They've been doing it for a long time, and then it's just like that guy came on and they're just like, holy shit.
Yeah. It's interesting that like a vocalist in a band like that could help push a band so far up, where like you feel like that would be kind of like a divisive thing, but it like garnered so much interest from people even outside of like, the metal community.
Super weird
because
shit.
It's like which is like, it's interesting to me.
It is,
but cool.
It is very cool.
It's super fun, and it's like, it's also interesting that there's like a whole like I don't know, it's just it's interesting that a band like that can be as big as they are, but there's still so much that's like, it's like there's no like middle ground, right? Either like nobody knows you or everybody knows you, and it's
even,
like
for even
it's like I feel like they skipped so many steps in a weird way, and I still don't understand how that happened.
And well, even when you say big, it's like they have like millions and stuff, but it's like when they come through, it's like Roxy, you know, what I mean? Which is a sizable venue, but it's like at the end of the day, it's not Taylor Swift.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
I guess that's fair.
Yeah.
So, it ain't Kenny Chesney.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. So, you know, I don't know. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's been interesting to see. I feel like more, I don't know if it's me being attuned to it, but I feel like I see a lot more people now that are into like, how do I put this? I feel like weirdo subculture in general, even outside of outside of music.
Yeah,
like movies, anime, all this kind of stuff. I feel like it's so normal now.
Oh yeah,
and it's
100%
everywhere, which is like really another interesting thing to see for me, and I'm sure you as well. Somebody that like growing up, like it was like kind of hard to find so much of this stuff, and now there's like weirdo shit everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's like, what even is counterculture anymore?
Like for me, like, especially with like, I've loved anime for a long, long time. But for my brother and I, it was like, you had to be at your TV for Toonami. And then we would like go walk like, because we didn't have cars, but there was like a Sam Goody like 2 miles down the road. So we would walk to Sam Goody and dumpster dive that bitch.
Oh, nice.
So hard. Those Sam Goody's probably not around for a reason, because they fucking threw everything out. So they would just like, they would throw anime. They like threw anime magazines out. They threw video games, like standees, like all this stuff. So it was just like scooping that up and walking the 2 miles back and just being like, look at this haul of free shit. But like, I discovered so much stuff because they were throwing video game magazines out. They were throwing anime magazines out, like all this cool pop culture stuff that was, you know, at that time you really only found at those weird stores like Sam Goody or something in the mall like that. And so it was just really cool to like discover stuff through that, you know, and through the internet, because like, my brother and I, we paid for our high-speed internet because we wanted to play Xbox Live. So we were like, we both had jobs, and like our parents refused to like buy cable, like, you know, like a decent internet cable. So it's like, we paid for that,
Gotcha.
that bill, because we wanted to do that stuff. And it was just like, you know, it's much easier to access now, which is way easier. You can do Crunchyroll for free and that stuff now. So it's like, it's all at your fingertips, but it was kind of fun to just grab a magazine, and there's like a demo in there with like an episode of some random anime, and you're just like, oh, this is cool. But you know, it's different strokes for different folks, different waves of how you find stuff anymore. But, like,
it's funny. It's just, I don't know. I remember when I was younger, like anything that looked remotely anime, I would try to check out because there was so little of it. So anytime you would see something,
100%,
you would be like, oh, I got to check this out. And then, you know, like, you know,
most of the cool stuff wasn't airing on TV.
No.
You know, Toonami did. I mean, Toonami was great. Like, they turned me on to some cool stuff, but like, yeah, you either had to just like go to Family Video or Blockbuster.
Yeah.
Check some, like I did that so many times with like Wicked City and Ninja Scroll.
Oh, yeah.
And Ghost in the Shell and Akira, just like seeing that box. And like, I'm a huge horror fan too. So it's just like that ritual was just like, that box is cool as shit. We're renting this tonight and we're watching it. But it was just like, it was prohibitive. Like, you couldn't own that stuff. Anime DVDs still to this day are like, you get like 4 episodes and it's like $30. And it's just like, who the fuck can afford to like even watch a single season, especially back then. So it's just like doing the dumpster diving made it affordable because it was free. Yeah. And then just like renting stuff. But, you know, I love that Netflix, you know what I mean? Like something like that is just like, we're putting millions of dollars behind like some random weird anime concept because it's hugely popular now. So I love that it's way more accessible for, and like, again, like what I said with horror, it's like you have Shudder, you have Screambox, like, you know, the licensing and rights issues aside of that stuff, which can be boring and tedious, it's still so much more stuff is at your fingertips. And that's like, I can be nostalgic and be like, you know, back in the day it was walk 2 miles to dumpster dive for anime, you know what I mean? But it's like
walk 4 miles back and forth in the snow, you know.
Never in the snow. Although I did get a Paul Stanley Kiss standee one time, which was
fuck yeah,
and a Legally Blonde one. That was dope with Reese Witherspoon. I just kind of, one year for Halloween, I just strapped the Reese Witherspoon like the standee to my body, just poked out holes in the eyes and just went as Legally Blonde.
That rules.
It was great. Yeah, it's a lot of good treasures from that dumpster. I'm really sad that people won't get to experience that anymore.
Yeah,
dumpster dive. That's rule number 2. Show up, dumpster.
Show up. Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like there's like to me, it's like almost like an overcorrection. Like, I feel like there used to be such a limited amount of like weirdo counterculture stuff. And then now, like, if you can find an FYE, if you go into a store like that, it's like, it's overstimulating. It's it's packed with so much crap. And like a lot of it, like, unfortunately is like just crap.
Yeah.
It's like so weird. It's like, I don't need like a Naruto PlayStation 3 controller holder, but maybe someone does.
Somebody does.
You know,
somebody's buying
it's just
it.
like there's like so much
There's a
stuff
lot,
being made.
dude.
And so they have like there's like it's so weird now to like I could go into a shopping mall, like I could go into FYE, and they have like a whole end cap of like Junji Ito stuff.
Dude, even like because I'm into like fucking I'm into every dorky thing you can imagine. I'm a collector. I just love physical media. I like to have physical shit. And so, yeah, like 10 years ago when I was like really getting into comics and stuff, like and loving Junji Ito, it was like it was so hard because like, you know, Dark Horse had done like a run back in like 2004, but they hadn't been repressing. So it's like, you know, I have some old Junji Ito stuff that's now worth crazy amounts of money. But like now, yeah, it's like you go to Barnes and Noble or anywhere really, and it's just like, here's this whole thing of Junji Ito, which is awesome because now it's not like costing $100 for some old print. Like they've got every piece of his, like every single one of his short stories, all of his big ones, and it's just like that's made it cheaper, which has been great.
I wonder if this is like what's happening. I wonder if like normal society, the muggles. I wonder if like those people that aren't like counterculture, pop culture type people, like they're not shopping in retail stores anymore. Are the only people looking for physical media freaks?
Yeah.
So like these retail stores have leaned in like, oh, the only way we're going to get people in here is if we have Dragon Ball Z boxers and Michael Myers socks.
I mean, that's like having gone to Hot Topic since the early 2000s, like the way that business stays relevant by like following nerdy and geeky trends is like top tier in my opinion. Like, yeah, you go on a Hot Topic, it's like half the store is just anime, you know, because that's the only thing that people are going to buy is just anime shirts, anime toys, figures, all that bullshit, because it's just like that's where the collector mindset is just dork shit. So.
Yeah, and like legacy rock t-shirts for those people's parents.
Yeah.
You can't, I've said this like 10,000 times already, but like you can't go into any store in the mall anymore. I don't care what store it is. Every single store sells a Def Leppard t-shirt.
Oh, 100%.
Anywhere.
Yeah. Target's going to have it.
Oh yeah.
You want a Def Leppard? You want an AC/DC shirt?
I saw a Metallica crew neck sweater in Hollister.
Okay.
Yeah. Everywhere.
But that goes back to, you know, just a Kardashian will wear a Metallica shirt, and so now that's cool. You know what I mean? Wear a Metallica shirt, which, you know, hopefully that means you maybe listen to a song or two. You know, I don't care if it does or doesn't. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna go up to you and be like, name 3 Metallica songs.
Totally.
That's the lamest shit I've. That dude is way lamer than somebody that's just being some kind of poser. Like the gatekeeper. I would rather side with the poser than the gatekeeper anytime, because gatekeeping is just so lame. For sure. And that's the thing too, like going back to our conversation about like a Lorna Shore or whatever like that. Like I remember being the 17-year-old kid, 16, 15, whatever, you know what I mean? Like being like, I just found this crazy band called Cradle of Filth. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I remember like the older mall rat dudes would be like, oh, like, you know, you shouldn't listen to that. You should check out this. And like, actually one of those guys showed me Children of Bodom, which, okay, fair enough. You make a good point, but also like your attitude is dog shit. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you got to just like let people enjoy things and find things on their own. Well, to pretend also that Cradle of Filth doesn't have bangers is fucking stupid.
Oh yeah. You're out of your fucking mind. Okay. To this day, they're still a good band. They're still doing it. Yeah. Whoever the fuck's in that band, Danny Filth and Company, I guess. Yeah. But, you know, the brand of that band has always been fun to me. And like the thing is like people are gonna find things in their own way. You know what I mean? It's like, why in the world would like a 9-year-old kid that's like listening to Slipknot. Like, what do you expect him to like? What do you expect him to know about?
Right.
Unless like he has like weirdo freak parents or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
like that was my position. You know what I mean? Like I had a dad that was into metal and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I knew about a lot of stuff a lot younger than some other people did. But that's still like,
which is like when I see like somebody like a hardcore dude or a metal dude who is just like, they bring their kids to a show and it's just like, that's awesome, man. Like, I wish, like, could you imagine like the clout you'd have being like a 6-year-old kid seeing shit right now and then like 20 years later being like, yeah, I saw them 20 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, that's the coolest shit ever. Like, I wish I had the opportunity to go to shows when I was a kid, because I missed out on a lot of stuff, like stuff that I was listening to that just I could never see.
Totally.
It's gone now. So.
My dad took me to a lot of shows, but the one show that I really wish I could have gone to, but my mom wouldn't let him take me. It was right before she started letting him take me to shows, was fucking White Zombie on the fucking Los Exorcisto tour. And that's it was like early, probably like 90, like early 90s. It was before Astrocrete.
Was that the tour they did with the Melvins or no?
I don't remember who the fuck was on that show. I just remember as a kid wanting to go to the White Zombie show and I couldn't go.
Yeah.
But it's fine. I got to go to some other cool stuff once I got a little bit older.
Did you see a Rob Zombie?
I have seen Rob Zombie, yes. I saw Rob Zombie at one of the Oz Fests.
Dude, it was just like playing on the Dreamcast as a teen, playing Jet Set Radio. Like they had, just for the American release, they had like this basically American level, and it was just Rob Zombie's Dragula was the soundtrack to that level. So it's just like, I've heard that song a billion times at this point, and it's just like, I mean, a lot of like, speaking of new metal, like Dreamcast, like being a Dreamcast kid, and it was like every single advertisement for like Dreamcast, especially the online stuff, was all Fred Durst. Like he was like the spokesperson.
Really? I don't remember that. That's so funny.
For Sega Net, big time. Like because I had like a subscription to the Dreamcast magazine, and it was just like, you know what I mean? Like play online with like.
Wait, did you have a subscription to the Dreamcast magazine, or was it like the Sam Goody subscription?
No. It was a subscription. We actually paid to get that mailed to us. That was
That's funny.
That's my favorite. Cool. That's my favorite system of all time. So it's just like that was like when I was like 15 years old that came out. So I was like able to like really fully appreciate that, and I was just like digging for every scrap of news and stuff like that. So it was just, you could win. Like I remember there was like a competition to win a Dreamcast that was signed by Limp Bizkit and stuff like that. Yeah, dude, they were all over. I have an old because the Sega Dreamcast had sponsored the 2000 what was that new metal tour? This one was Ozfest. So I had this old like year 2000, it's like Sega Dreamcast, and it's like basically the just that really shitty sun, you know what I mean? That like really bad sun tattoo that like every Gen X dude has.
Like the Godsmack logo?
The Godsmack logo, but it was like with the Sega Dreamcast, and then it just says Ozfest in the back, and it's just like, that's one of my treasures.
I can't think of a shirt more geared to you.
I know.
Personally.
It's like, it's metal and it's video games, and that's why I was just like, this is mine. Like, I can't not have this.
That's so funny. Yeah, I'm surprised that I don't really remember that. I don't know. I feel like I was never a huge video game kid, but I was always around it. Like I had friends that played video games. I had a PlayStation. I had a PlayStation 2. Yeah. You know, I played through some stuff. Yeah. But I think that probably around the time that I started getting into like making music, I was like 13, 14. And then I started making beats on my PlayStation on MTV Music Generator.
Oh, sick.
That was like how I started making music. So like literally, I think that if that game wouldn't have happened,
right?
I probably would have been. I'm sure that I would have found one way or another. One way or another, I probably would have wound up making music
beats on MTV Music Generator.
But that was like that's where it started.
That's really
and then I mean, I had MTV Music Generator 2 as well for the PlayStation 2. That was co-hosted by Funkmaster Flex.
Oh shit! They even had voiceover stuff too.
Oh yes,
that's it.
Yeah, well, he has like a whole intro that he recorded.
Yeah.
for it. Like whenever you turn it on, I still remember it. It's like burned in my brain, like the intro whenever it would boot up.
That's super dope. Yeah.
He's like, yeah, it's going down. It's your boy Funkmaster Flex, and we're here to premiere the new MTV Music Generator 2, baby. And then it's like, like it's burnt, like that dialogue's burned in my head, dude. I've heard it so many fucking times. But yeah,
able to export those beats at all?
So yeah, I actually did. This is going to be a fun plug for my YouTube here on Start the Beat YouTube. You could go back actually during the pandemic. I did like a whole big video talking about MTV Music Generator, and I screen recorded it and like show some of the old beats that I made and all that kind of stuff, and just talked about the process of that.
Like memory cards and stuff.
Oh yeah, I still have all my memory cards and everything.
That's so dope.
Yeah, totally. There was a thing that happened when like I've always been into like collecting things.
Yeah,
I have like my dad's the same way. Yeah. I have an uncle that was the same way, where it was just like, you know, you get things and you keep them.
Yeah.
But then, you know, like my parents divorced and I lived with my mom, and like, you know, a lot of my shit just kind of got thrown away. Like, oh, like this shirt doesn't fit you anymore, get rid of it. Like all that kind of stuff. So like it got to a point, like probably like when I was like, you know, like 16, 17, like, and I started to realize, like, man, I really wish I still had that shit from when I was like 10. Like, I had like all them like G.I. Joe size Mortal Kombat action figures and all that shit.
Dude, don't even,
you know, and like, it's like, where are they now?
Dude.
I don't know, you know, and it's like, so it's like, I'm never fucking getting rid of anything.
Yeah. Well, that was like my original Dreamcast collection had some of the rarest games. Like, they're like well over $500 now a piece at this point for some of this. But like in college, I lived in just this fucking party house that just like rotated. And we had at one time, like maybe 10 people total living in the house. And it disappeared one day. And so I'm just like, I tried to rebuild my Dreamcast collection a couple years ago. And it's just like, I'm not even going to bother because it's so expensive, even for like dog shit titles.
Yeah.
Just bad stuff. And it's just like, it's so prohibitive to collect.
Yeah.
That's
the bummer when the finance bros infiltrate the weirdo shit.
Yeah. Well, dude, like, cause I'm also like, so just here's like a little landscape of the shit I collect. I collect laser discs. I have one of those IKEA like 4x4s, like maybe it's 5x5. It's the big ones. Like it's that whole thing is filled with just laser discs. So somewhere around maybe 1,000 titles, I would give or take. I collect VHS, video games on occasion, and like some Blu-rays and stuff for like more niche like horror titles and that kind of stuff. But it's just like when freaking Pete Davidson went on some dumb talk show and just said, I bought a bunch of sealed VHS tapes, stuff just like garbage, just like run-of-the-mill bullshit.
Jurassic Park.
Yeah, Jurassic Park,
which
sealed.
No shade to Jurassic Park.
No, but it's just like there's millions of copies of these VHS out there, and so now it's just like even collecting something like that's why I went to like VHS and Laserdisc, because it's relatively a cheap thing because it's a niche thing and nobody really cares, and it's like the hard to find titles are always going to be hard to find. You know what I mean? Those will always have a cost, but like you just see like people like trying, like they're like grading VHS now, like going to those auction houses and grading sealed VHS, and then that costs like $100 to just grade a single VHS.
No
so
interest.
Now they're like trying to sell Jurassic Park sealed for like $1,000. It's like, this is worthless. This is worth maybe $1. I'll go to the Goodwill and find a sealed Jurassic Park right now. Like this is so pointless. And so it's like you said, like these financial bros, these like influencer people who like come into a niche fun community where like everybody's just trading and having fun and selling stuff for, you know, an actual real price.
Yeah.
And then these people just show up and they're just like, I'm selling my graded Jurassic Park for $1,000. And it's just like, it just makes it not fun. Like, I mean, it's always going to be fun for me because like my wife and I love like thrifting and going to flea markets and stuff. And that's always going to be cheap.
Yeah.
Like, I'm never going to be like,
even some thrift stores are a little, they're getting a little,
I don't do Goodwill.
They're getting a little silly.
I don't really fuck with Goodwill anymore because that's the thing too. They'll hop on those trends too. So it's just like what used to be a place for people to like go and buy clothes that they couldn't otherwise afford. now they're getting slapped with like Goodwill has like a special section for like t-shirts and stuff. It's like, you got that shit for free. Like, why are you not pricing this like, just to sell? Like this, you're not you know what I mean? You're not eBay. You're
it's
not
like my girlfriend always says, and she's right. Like, we were at, I think like the red, white, and blue on 51.
I don't.
And go there anymore. And it's like I hadn't been there in forever. But she just recently moved to Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So and she's into all this stuff. So it's like, oh, let's go to the spots. You know what I mean? It's right by our house. Mm-hmm. And like looking around, it's just like she's like, I could buy new clothes from Macy's for cheaper than this.
Yeah, like especially red, white, and blue is awful, and they're cash only. At least they were back in the day.
They still are.
So it's like not only do they overcharge for everything in there, then you're just like they also are cash only. So you're just like, you want me to pay basically what I'd be paying online, if not more, and you want me to do it in cash. This is very stupid. So
yes,
like with my wife and I, like one of our favorite things in the world to do is like drive an hour, 90 minutes, sometimes 2 hours outside the city, just explore some random spot. Like we'll like find like a diner. Like the last one we did when we had like the week of Christmas, we took that week off of work and we went out to Johnstown. Shout out Johnstown. Sick place.
Whoop, whoop.
Randy, Path of the Flood guitarist, one of my favorite guitarists in the area.
Yeah.
He's from there. We like thrifted in Johnstown, and then we went to Indiana, PA, and thrifted. And it's just like, it's so much more fun when you go outside the city and you just kind of like just find that cool little diner and you go and you eat a nice breakfast, and then you're just like, all right, let's like just fucking find some treasures. Like, it's more so like, even if I don't find anything on any given day, it was still fun because it's like I spent hours with the person I love.
Totally.
Like doing a fun little hobby we like to do. And if we find stuff, cool. If we don't, we still had a great time. Like better than just sitting around and doing nothing. So that's my motivator right there. It's just like, it's such a fun thing to do with my wife.
Yeah. I mean, me and Grace have been doing pretty much the same thing when we're like out on the road. We'll try to find something.
Same.
Some of the stuff is like places that she's been familiar with. Like we went to, there's a really awesome antique mall somewhere in Virginia that we went to that's huge. Huge. They say it's like America's largest antique mall, but that's also like world's best coffee, an elf.
Yeah.
Congratulations, you did it. But the place is huge. It's awesome. We found a lot of really cool stuff there. There's some really good ones in Tennessee. Yeah. Like down by Pigeon Forge.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I have like most of my family lives in like Knoxville now, which is right by Pigeon Forge. And so anytime we go to visit them, it's like we're hitting up. They got so many thrift stores there, and they're all sick. So it's just like, that's the thing too with like traveling, like doing a trip. It's like generally we like to just do a trip where we can drive, because it's like we like to break up an 8-hour drive with like some thrifting along the way, because it's like, well, when am I ever gonna thrift in friggin' or like not even Altoona, but like we're like on the other side of Pennsylvania or in the middle of Ohio. It's just like, we might as well. And it's like, that's one of those things too, where it's like driving, I'll drive the whole trip, but it's just like, if I thrift and I find some cool stuff, I'm just like re-energized. And I'm like, it's much easier to make the drive because I'm like, I've been able to do that half-hour pit stop and like engage my brain in a hobby I like. And so it's like an 8-hour drive isn't that bad, because it's like, I get to thrift here.
Yeah, totally.
It's super fun. And like, if you were ever in my house, it's just like my office space is just like, I have all my VHS in there and a bunch of toys. And then the music room is like a bunch of vinyl records and a bunch of laser discs. And then my basement is just like all my thrifted clothes. I have like 4 or 5 racks of just like vintage clothes and coats. So most of it's like Pittsburgh sports related stuff, because like I just gravitate to like the 80s and 90s, like Pittsburgh Steelers and especially the Penguins aesthetic, like that Penguin, whatever, the triangle logo, the old, like the 90s to like early 2000s. That, I don't know why I don't have that tattooed on me, because that's literally my favorite logo of all time. But like, that was when like the Penguins sucked, you know what I mean? So nobody cares about that era so much anymore. But like, for me, it's just like I came in, I have like that old Zubaz Penguins jacket with that logo on there that Chris Smith gave me years back. And it's just like, if there's something with that logo on, I don't care what it is, any dumb piece of merch, I'm just like, this is mine.
Totally.
I have a dumb shrine. I've got like Wheaties cereal boxes and shit from that era. So yeah, it's just, I don't know. I could just talk about the dumb shit I collect.
Yeah, it's so hard. You know, me and Grace will find ourselves like now at this point where it's like, we'll see, like it's the exercise of restraint. Mm-hmm. I'm proud of both of us. We've gotten a lot better. It's just gotten
better, yeah.
Where it's like what do I really need this for?
Right. Yeah. You do have to be like, okay, is this cool? All right. Am I actually going to do something with it, or is it just going into the basement as soon as we get home?
Yeah,
you know
I need to like do the like don't pick it up right now.
Right.
If I even remember that I saw that in 10 minutes from now, maybe it's worth it. Because a lot of the times there's stuff where it's like, I saw something. What was it? I really liked that thing. It's like, I don't even remember it. It's like, it must not have been that fucking important.
But what I also love about it too is just because I have so many friends, and it's just like, if I'm out in the wild and I see something cool that I know a buddy's going to love, I'm going to pick it up because it's a couple bucks. And it's just like, like I did that recently with, my friend Chris, who the guitarist in Aconitum. I found this cool ass, like, because he was in Sarlacc, which is a Star Wars grindcore band. I found this like poster. It was like an OG from 1977 from the U.S. Health Department, where it was C-3PO and R2-D2, and it was just like, make sure your kids are immunized. So it was like this immunization, like PSA from the U.S. Health Department with the droids from Star Wars on it. And it was like $5. And I was just like, this is a no-brainer. They will love this. And I put it in a frame and gave it to them as a present, because it's just like, and like when people come over, I have all those clothes in my basement that like, I stopped fucking with Depop because selling stuff on Depop was just so annoying because everybody just kept lowballing and being weird and sketchy. So I stopped doing that. So it's like, if people come over, it's just like, go down in my basement. If there's something on those racks that, you know, you are feeling, take it. Because it cost me $2 5 years ago. That money is well gone and spent. I do not care.
Sure.
So it's just, I love giving dumb shit to people that will appreciate it more than just like holding on to it. You know, there's stuff that I'll never give away, you know what I mean? Because I can't.
Yeah.
I just can't. But like, if there's something that like I have no attachment to, but I know a buddy does, it's like, take this because you are going to love it. And it's better than being in a trash can somewhere or a dump somewhere, you know?
Hey.
Yeah.
You know, if you come across any XL Disney stuff that you're not interested in, I know,
brother. If you need XL Disney stuff, I got you covered. I got a lot of Disney shit.
Yeah, I love all the old 90s Disney stuff.
Same, dude. I've got a lot of Disney stuff. It's just so sick. Like, any Universal Studio stuff from the 90s too. I've got a good collection of too.
Yeah.
And like, because I'm from Northwest Ohio, like Toledo area, so like anything Cedar Point, if I find, I've got some cool Cedar Point stuff too.
Nice.
So it's just like, theme park stuff. You know, I mean, you go harder on theme parks than anybody else I know, but it's just like, any of that kind of stuff is just like, if that's 80s or 90s, I'm just grabbing that. Yeah. So I'll dig around.
Hell yeah. I mean, I always try to look around for stuff, but it's so hard to find that stuff anymore.
Yeah. That's the one thing like my wife hates about when I go thrifting is I'm so meticulous. Like I will go through the entire clothes. Like,
you never know.
The men's shirt is just like, it's just going to be buried somewhere in a random spot. So you have to check every shirt. And it's just, she's like, I'm going to go to the car now. Cause like she could scope something in like 5 minutes and be done. But for me, it's just like, there's probably a hidden treasure here. So I have to just look at everything, which can take a long time.
Sure. I feel you. But hey, we should all go thrifting sometime.
Dude, I would love
that. Would be fun.
It was fun doing like doing Kennywood with you. Those times. Like dude, I'm always down for because that's the thing. Like people always hit me up as like, how do you find this stuff thrifting? And it's just like,
go.
Because I just go a lot. It's like, and like sometimes you find nothing.
It's like the band rule. Like if you want something, show up.
Yeah. So show up in dumpster dive.
Yeah.
Fuck Goodwill. Just take from the collection spot right there.
Yeah, totally. Fuck them.
Pretend like you're dropping off some boxes and then just kind of
trading boxes.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, shit, Adam. I think now would probably be a good time for us to pull the plug on our conversation here.
Sure, yeah.
We've been going for a little over an hour.
Oh, really? Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Plenty of good tidbits in here.
Yeah.
Time flies.
Time does
when
fly,
you're having
dude.
fun and in good company.
Yeah.
So, to act like a professional here, real quick,
Yeah.
would you like to promote your band?
Yeah, I'll promote some shit.
We've already talked about it,
we've
but yeah,
a little bit. Yeah. So, Narakah's on indefinite hiatus. It's not done. All the dudes are chatting, and because that's like the one thing. Like, as long as I've been doing this music for, with my old band Meth Corey playing with you guys in Old Fears back in the day, like nobody cared. I mean, it was fun doing those bands, but like Narakah is that one band I've been doing in this 10 plus years I've been doing this stuff where people actually cared about, and like I always get hit up. It's like, when Narakah coming back? It's like, it's gonna come back eventually. We're all chatting. Everybody's like, nobody hates each other or anything like that. It's just, there's some circumstances that, not everybody can do it right now. So hopefully Narakah will come back sooner than later. I've got my other grindcore band, Aconitum, and we are actively playing shows. I mean, I think this is airing probably too late for the show that's happening at the end of this month, but we have something in the works for March, and that's not announced yet. That'll hopefully be at the Shred Shed, which
cool,
the coolest actual venue in the city, like actually in the city limits, because Preserving and Green Beacon, they're outside the city technically. So it's like, that's my favorite space right now in Pittsburgh is Shred Shed. And then we have on my birthday, which is 4/20.
How ironic.
Smoking my finger. We are playing with See You Next Tuesday.
Oh, that's right. Out at the Beacon, right?
At the
yeah,
Beacon,
cool.
With a killer Toledo band, Mutilatred, as well. And then Riparian, who are the homies. They're the best death metal band in Pittsburgh right now, in my opinion. And then Vulgar Mephitis is a close second, but it's
sure.
both of them. So,
yeah. Fuck you, Dan.
Yeah. Talented piece of shit.
Fucking loser.
Yeah. Stop being
Get a real hobby.
Yeah, stop being so good at fucking guitar. We're playing that show on 4/20, which is like a dream come true for me. Like, See You Next Tuesday, I've been listening to for God knows how long. So to play a show with them is fucking nuts. That's what we're gonna have, like, I think we want to write like one more song. We're like close to finishing up one more, so I think we're gonna have like an 8-song EP, and we'll probably have that recorded and out sometime by the summer, I would say. So that'll be cool. And then I do, like, for like the more nerdy side of the shit I have this dumb YouTube channel called Analog Oddities, which is just the weird VHS and laser discs that I thrift. I put them on YouTube because it's like weirdo, goofy ass, like instructional videos for like a vacuum cleaner or some dumb shit.
Sure.
It's just like, somebody wants to watch this, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
I put a lot of that stuff up on that YouTube channel as well, which is like a fun, dumb little distraction. It's like, it kind of justifies collecting dumb shit. It's like, well, I'm doing something with it. I'm putting it up online. So that's been a ton of fun.
Digital archiving's important. You'll see like there's always those like people like in like lost media threads on like Reddit and shit like that. Like, so people are always looking for weird, obscure stuff, and who knows, maybe one day you'll contribute something great. Like you'll find some weird Lost Sesame Street episode or something.
That's the thing. If you or your grandma or mom have like some old ass VHS tapes where they were recording some Lifetime original movies, send those bitches my way. I love doing those dumb commercial compilations where like, I'll just like rip a whole VHS and then just cut out all the commercial breaks and then just put it into like a big long video. Those are like the things that do best for me, because it's just like people just want to see like old commercials from when they were kids, and it's super fun to do.
Hell yeah.
So like, yeah, just give me all that shit.
Well, with all that being said, this has been quite a podcast.
100%.
Thank you for coming by, Adam.
Always.
Hell yeah. You know the scoop here. We're going to do my professional outro. That's you, not me. This is my first podcast. I don't know what I'm doing. that is all, folks. Thanks so much for being here. My name is Brian. Start the Beat is the podcast, as you should already know. It says it right there. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Take care of the people around you. Peace. And that's it. We did a podcast.
We did it.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Thank you, man.
Yeah, dude.